So it says we are live now with session 2 of the Lost Colonies. So we'll go around, everyone can introduce themselves in whatever order that Nick preferred. I wasn't paying attention.
I'm Andrew Van Roy, and my channel is under the name Andrew Van Roy as well. I've actually posted a video now, the first in a long while, actually as a sort of character diary, in character from my character. If you're interested, you can go and take a look at that, and we'll move this right along.
I am Nick Wadati. I also have a channel, Ferric Zorn, for those interested. I got a couple campaigns on Google Hangouts that are up there for those who are interested. And I'll be playing Lysandros Avenarius.
I'm Micah. I will be playing the ship's Confessor, Confessor Casimir. I don't have a channel, so next.
My name is Mike Myler. I am a game designer, and I'm playing the game's Purser, which is kind of his accountant. I'm named Brado Gruffman. You can find all my awesome stuff at from my website, mikemyler.com, or there's a bunch of free PDFs at varanthiacodex.com and hypercore2099.com and missofakuma.com.
Alright, so my name is Russ. I'm here playing the Master-at-Arms, or, well, not Master-at-Arms yet, but Sergeant Syntek Sorrel, the Arch-Militant, and I don't have a channel. I'm just here to have fun. That's me.
Perfect. And when we last left our daring heroes, they were on Battle Station Hydra, where the Ferrum Tempestus had carried them forth to investigate charges most foul against Caellus Loretti, the heir to the Loretti dynasty, fortune, and warrant of trade. Apparently he had been badly injured in a training accident. His father, not trusting to that, has sent the Tempestus to investigate. They have now met up with Caellus. He has told his story of woe, how he came to be here, and how he is now awaiting his court's martial. We'll jump into whichever of our characters wishes to start.
I will take a look at the current witness list over there at Battle Station Hydra and see how that's coming along.
All right.
Okay, so our scene opens with, again, Caellus Loretti, heir to the rogue trader dynasty of that name, laying luxuriantly across his father's couch in his captain's cabin, with the Xeno pelt again draped over its overstuffed over the overstuffed furniture. He has his boots kicked up, his finely polished black boots of the Navy. I wear, of course, my naval tunic in the blue and gold of the Imperial Navy, with metal sparkling in most dazzling fashion upon my chest. I have of course, the signature marking of a lieutenant in the Imperial Navy. I occasionally, absent-mindedly, play with my waxed mustache, which is, of course, most luxuriant. And my black hair is slicked back, with my black eyes sort of surveying the other crewmen who are with me in this chamber, as we are discussing how best to go about making the trial a more fair affair. And I'm currently taking the opinions of the crew.
All right.
Mr. Gruffman, I think it is appropriate that you go over the witness list again.
He looks around like he doesn't know what you're talking about. I haven't the faintest idea what you mean, sir. Are some of them on our payroll?
No, Mr. Gruffman. We have remember you pulled up earlier a list of the witnesses that will be at the trial, and it seems that many of them are, the ones on my side, are quite disreputable people. They have stacked this witness list against me.
Yeah. Sure. Let me access those. I'm sorry. I thought that I had done that secretly. So
I thought you had too.
Yeah. Like so. Okay. So.
Oh,
that,
I'm sorry. I thought it was public knowledge because we had talked.
I mean, I had it delivered to the high factotum, and he made it public knowledge, but I don't think I made it aware to anybody. So yeah, he's like, I don't think we're paying any of those people. If you would like to, I can organize messages sent to persuade them to see justice in a more kindly fashion, and perhaps we can offer them more than the Perdiccas family is. I'm sure many of them have been bought already.
All right, and why don't you describe, Mike, what does Brado Gruffman look like?
Oh, Brado, yeah, I can't get my picture on here because I don't have a working video.
Just for our new viewers, not that we'll have many viewers.
Slim and slender man of great age and many rejuvenat treatments. He looks like he's got like some kind of bulky exoskeleton or something worked into his armor. But it's all under like a trench coat, and he looks very subdued and kind of nerdy. And all told, you don't actually see a lot of his skin. You can like see his neck and his face. But he always keeps his eyes covered by like goggles, and he keeps his hair slicked back. It's spindly, and he doesn't have. It's very thin, very thin. He looks very unassuming, honestly.
All right, and perhaps did you say, Caellus, that you're kind of all meeting in the ship's lounge area, perhaps like a private lounge, well appointed with luxuriant carpets, with hanging chandeliers, with couches and divans, with a nice viewport where you can see the space station outside with the many small shuttles flitting around, doing small repairs and moving cargo about. So certainly a very opulent atmosphere. There would be small viands and fine amasec to drink with high class, low sticks should you care to smoke. So Brado, you have your computer interface set up inside of this room, and you're accessing the witness list. That's correct?
Yes, I thought we had some more time between last game and this, so I probably haven't done that stuff that we rolled for yet. It sounds like we're picking up like immediately where we left off last game. So
yes, sir.
That's going to take me at least an hour.
All right, but this would be a fine time to narrate those roles and what you're attempting to achieve within that hour.
Okay. Well, the next time that we take a break, or that I am, in private, I will go and use my like jack point or whatever I left on the ship or the battle station Hydra last time we were there, and I'll start wheedling down the witness list. So if somebody is too important for me to just kill with malfunctioning door or bad air filters, or like unexpected electrical discharge from equipment, or anything that I can make look like a ship accident, if they are too important to just kill that way, then I will try to like force their service orders to take them away from Battle Station Hydra during the trial. And so I'm just trying to like whittle down the witness list to be as small as possible.
And what was the result of that tech use check?
I had a whole bunch of good checks. I think I flubbed the stealth check for my Cyber Eagle to deliver the revised witness list to the high factotum, but I spent a fate point to make it better, or to reroll it.
And that fate point will count against last session, not this session.
Oh, okay.
So it's been regenerated now. All your fate points regenerate every session unless you burn them, and that's basically to save yourself from imminent and certain death.
Hopefully certain death doesn't get anywhere near me.
All right, so you've scheduled duties on various outposts around the system. This star system does not just have the battle station. There are listening posts There are training exercises being run. There are planetary garrisons, mining colonies that need some security, deal with unruly workers. So you've made sure to transfer as many people out and away from the battle station as possible before the trial. Anyone who was on that list, they're moving out. There was a small group that you found yourself unable to transfer. Their rank was a little bit too high. But what you were able to do is send them a message, a missive, requesting their presence on one of the picket ships as it's approaching. You were able to get all of these individuals together onto a shuttle.
Oh no.
And that shuttle suffered catastrophic engine failure and was tragically destroyed while it was transferring these gentlemen across. So there is still a witness pool to call from. However, it's greatly reduced and certainly far less biased than it would have been otherwise.
And that is the revised list that shows up in the high factotum's room.
Yes, and no doubt you're able to aid in the scheduling to make sure that Caellus's witnesses are on the station, that he can call them in his own defense.
Indeed. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I wanted to scrub any security footage of the actual incident where he pulls out the grenade and stuff. Or, I mean, alter it if that's a possibility, but I figured that's probably a little too far.
Altering it would be extremely problematic because if they are able to analyze it, they could discover the treachery. Whereas if it's just disappeared, there are multiple explanations for that.
Is there actually security footage of Caellus using the grenade, or surely there will be footage of a grenade going off, but there must have, as I understood it from Caellus, there was a firefight already underway. Is there clear footage of Caellus actually taking out the grenade and using it?
Yes, there is, but Brado is able to access it, and if I'm not sure if you made that tech use test or not, Brado. Did you?
I don't know, but we can do it now.
Okay, if you're not sure, then I'll get you to roll to see if you're able to delete that. Altering it would be extremely difficult, and if you fail to alter it properly, it would implicate Caius.
No, we'll go the safe route. We'll just
Actually, it might even occur to a man as cunning and devious as Brado, if you were to alter the footage to make it look like
I'll just do a bad alteration.
Make it look like Marcus was innocent, but do it in such a terribly rendered, obvious forgery that it will actually implicate him in tampering with the evidence. A man as devious as Brado might think of that.
And then that would also help cover up why all the witnesses suddenly are unavailable. Yeah,
it could.
Go for that. I have rolled an 11, and I have all that super unnatural intelligence, and we will go for the bad alteration so you can tell it.
All right, excellent.
So yes, I will say that. Or no, I guess I wouldn't know. I will have an anonymous message sent to the high factotum so he can see the footage, and I'll make it look like it was sent by one of House Perdiccas's lawyers.
All right. Actually, Marcus is being represented in the trial by his own captain, by Blasia Colonies.
I try to pick somebody who won't actually be at the trial. You know, like the equivalent of a legal aid.
So maybe her yeoman or her first officer.
Sure, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So those are Brado's devious machinations at the moment. Maybe we could cut to Quinilla because he has been most absent from the previous session. Where do we find the ship's confessor?
Well, I've just gotten back from my tour of the station, and I kind of walk into my my private quarters. The camera pans so that you see Quinilla from the front, and as the door closes behind him, he just kind of very quickly kind of rips the religious symbol of the God Emperor from his neck and just sort of throws it on the ground. Walks over to his bed and just kind of like collapses, flops down face first onto his bed.
All right, and perhaps the High Confessor is interrupted in his reverie by a notification. It's actually a electronic message from Lieutenant Janus, remarking that she has been able to get in contact with Admiral Petilia, and she would be most happy and honored to take confession with the ship's confessor, one who is so widely famed in the grace of the God Emperor.
Excellent.
Do you want to describe what do Quinilla's quarters look like? Are they very opulent and decorated, or are they very Spartan and plain? What do you think? How would he decorate his cabin?
Well, first off, the lighting in this room, it keeps going in and out. I have yet to be able to contact our tech priest about that, but so the light is very, very dark, very shadowy in this room. There are stacks of old books and tomes stacked on various tables and under the table, under the bed. There's an insane amount of religious symbols of the God Emperor just sort of about the room, just sort of haphazardly. It's very, if anyone were to see this, it would be very unbecoming. It's pretty much a pigsty. So definitely an unbecoming bedroom for someone as high status as Quinilla.
All right, and does Quinilla make any response to that message, or is he going down for a nap for a little while?
Yes, I will send a brief thank you to Janice and inquire to what time would be best for the Admiral.
All right, and she responds that probably later in the evening would be better for Petilia. Her duties will keep her occupied for some time, perhaps just after dinner.
I respond that sounds perfect, and that I shall find her after dinner. And then I thank Janice again for her help in spreading the grace of the God Emperor.
And perhaps then we'll cut through to maybe Centessian Cyril. What has our good sergeant been doing in the meantime? I think you said you wanted to scout out the station and find the courthouse. Is that correct?
Well, I would certainly be. I mean, it depends on what Syntech knows, basically. Like all the high-level things that are going on right now. As far as with Brado, I don't know all this. So, as far as Syntech knows, is that Lord Caellus has been, charged with mutiny. He's going to be facing serious charges, and that they could very well end up with him, being sentenced to some extremely harsh sentence. So, my job as security for the dynasty would definitely include pulling up, schematics for if possible, pulling up the actual place that the court-martial would take place, inquiring as to what kind of previous cases like this within the Navy, were how they turned out. Basically, what were the charges against other officers similar to Caellus, and what was the outcomes. I'm looking for averages, basically, and to see what happened to them, and then also to figure out the if he is found guilty, if the trial does go not in his favor, what path would he take from there? Obviously, he'd be arrested. He'd be thrown into some kind of, jail, cell, penal colony, what have you. That is what I'm trying to figure out. All the logistics, basically, of the situation.
All right. So make an inquiry test to see what you're able to find out on that legal tradition. If you don't have inquiry, then roll against half of your fellowship.
Oh god, I gotta open a whole bunch of stuff now. All right, so it's the percentage, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're trying to roll under your skill. If you don't have the skill, you're rolling under half of your attribute.
Oh, no way, I passed it. 76.
All right. So from what you're able to see, which is probably mostly propaganda, although Syntech might not realize that, but what he's able to glean is that those accused of mutiny who rise up against the rightful order of the empire, of the Imperium, are always put down, put to death at a high percentage of the time. Only rarely would they be instead imprisoned for the rest of their life. And almost all of the cases you're able to find involve guilt, guilty, guilty, guilty. There's not a lot of people ever being exonerated from this charge, from what you're able to come up with. Of course, Syntech, he probably doesn't realize that he actually failed his test. So he's like very convinced this is a life or death kind of trial, and probably death.
Yeah, so it's basically a certainty to me at this point that Caellus is going to be executed. So then I would try to go through the proper channels within the dynasty to prevent this at any cost.
Certainly. And you said you were also gathering like a schematic and kind of trying to figure out an emergency backup battle plan. That's correct?
Basically, yeah. If he's pronounced guilty, we need to come up with a plan that can extract Caellus safely and with the least amount of damage possible. He's going to lose face no matter what, is what Syntech is thinking. He's going to lose face no matter what with the Navy, and it's going to look bad to the dynasty no matter what, but at least we can save his life.
Yes. Now, I'm trying to find if there is any kind of warfare or tactics or strategy test. Closest I can find is there's Command, and then there's Common Lore Imperial Guard.
No, the test for like tactical knowledge is let me see if I can find it. It's Tactica Imperialis. I just don't remember if that's. I think that's a type of special knowledge. I can't. Scholastic lore.
Okay.
Scholastic lore.
That makes
Tactica
sense.
Imperialis is.
All right. So make a Scholastic lore Tactica Imperialis test, Syntech, to make your battle plan. And if you don't have that trained, it's half of your intelligence.
Okay, which isn't too great either. All right. Let me just make sure I don't have this actual skill. Scholastica Imperialis?
It's Scholastic lore is the...
I do have that. Tactica Imperialis?
Yes.
I have it trained.
Perfect. So you roll against your intelligence, just your flat intelligence.
Gotcha. It's a 29 or less. Oh god, come on. Yeah, 43. Failed that one.
All right. What is your intelligence?
29.
God damn.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Hydra battle station basically has like 5 docking ports out front, and then this large trunk section. If you're looking down at from the top, each of these docking ports, these 5, is able to house a frigate or 2 corvettes on either side of it, basically. And the trunk is able to accommodate a cruiser. Actually, probably 2 cruisers, one on either side, essentially. Um, so that main trunk part is where most of the facilities are held in terms of the courts, most of the barracks, the hydroponics bay, anything that's not to do directly with servicing the ships and the Imperial Guard equipment is in this main trunk area. And the very top actually has a crystal dome looking down on this large hollowed out area, and it's in that section that they've got an Imperial Academy, as well as the courthouse, as well as various other official buildings, the hospital, the librarium, various other official buildings in there, and some park space as well. So he'll certainly be on this kind of main street area. So as far as like trying to break into the courthouse, come out of the courthouse, there are limited options. You'd have to kind of go through the streets down this main street, which is very exposed to fire from all over. Coming up from beneath is probably not an option because it's a military base. The security is so high, it'd be very difficult to do that. The most audacious option would be to like blow the entire dome, but that would certainly have hundreds, if not thousands, of civilian casualties. It's a tremendously large
something I want to avoid for sure.
Well, the main thing I'd be looking for, I mean, with the 43, is the weakest point of Caellus, the weakest point of security.
The weakest point will definitely be in the courtroom itself. So when he's in there, pretty much the only thing would be to grab him in there, take him right back out the front door onto the main street, fight your way down to the dock. Because from the courthouse, if he's guilty, they're going to take him down inside of the battle station. And then it's all hall to hall, room to room, door to door, tunnel fighting, essentially. And that's, you don't want to get in a fight in a basement.
No. And, I mean, how much would someone, his guard, basically, his armsman, how, would we even be allowed in the courtroom, so to speak?
You'd be allowed in, but you'd have to essentially be wearing like your dress or duty uniform. So they probably would allow you to pass with a pistol, maybe a sword if you're wearing a dress uniform, but certainly they wouldn't allow any kind of explosives or exotic armaments, or probably even armor inside.
Okay, so I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem like there's a way to extract him from the courthouse, make it back to the ship. That's if we survive from the courthouse to our ship, leave on our ship, and beat the fleet that will be following us. Yeah.
Yes, and the Tempestus is a very slow ship.
Yeah. As multiple people said last time, so Syntax at a loss. Honestly, he doesn't know how this will work strategically if he's pronounced guilty.
Well, he can certainly make at least that report to either Sulpicio or Lysandros, just making them aware of these facts, I'm sure.
I would both. I would send the report to both.
Okay. So maybe then we will jump to Lysandros.
I am making final preparations to meet with the Admiral as we have convened, and with you, Caellus. When I get that report over, over through microbead or through the Vox, or maybe you send it to me. I will certainly try to elaborate upon your report, Mr. Sorrell, which I'm happy to roll for before I depart. But as I'm giving again the upteenth time a look at the placement of my shining bits and dangles and accoutrements upon my person to make sure I am as presentable and forward-facing before meeting with the Admiral. Well, my boy, now's the time to see what this old man can do for you once again. Before I go, is there anything else you have for me that you might recall, Caellus, before I depart? Speak with this dragon slayer.
No, I suppose not. I would look very bad if I were to meet with him myself, so of course I will let you and His Excellency meet with the Admiral. But unfortunately, I am the face of this operation. There's not much I can do without looking suspicious, so I will head back, of course, to that blasted infirmary and await what may happen. In the meantime, I unstrap my Archaeotech pistol, my ancient weapon of my ancestors, and I hand it to you handle first. Keep this in your possession, Lysandros. I do not think that they would appreciate me bringing it into the courtroom, and if anything should happen to me, of course, it is yours to do with as you see fit. I will get dressed in my formal attire and be ready to wait whatever may happen. I tell the others that I appreciate, of course, all that they have, all that they are doing, and all that they have done for me. I will see you shortly.
I nod and put my hand on your shoulder. Very good, Caellus. Chin up, dear boy. We'll have you out of this soon.
Always.
Your father respects you greatly, as do I, as do we all.
I give
We'll
you
be
a
out of
curt.
this before too long.
I give you a curt nod. There probably is a bit of emotion in my face, but again, being who I am, I cannot show that to a large degree. But I quickly turn and leave and head to a shuttle to return to the infirmary, and of course in my best dress uniform, awaiting the trial, with only my sword as my as what I have left to me, of course.
And I stand watching the door for several seconds as you depart. Give a single nod to the empty room. Place your pistol in the lockbox I have within my own quarters, which are sparse, though not Spartan. And in contrast to His Excellency's room, the lighting is even and almost at the verge of a brightness that would hurt the eyes, though not quite that degree. The light is constant, even as could be in the placement of the points of such illumination, casting the entire room in a strange pale glow that seems to, for those who are not used to it, kind of wash wash the color out of the vision of anyone sort of approaching within. Kind of a disorienting way. The shadows are diminished to such a point, given the omnipresent illumination, such that it casts the perspective off a little bit. It's kind of a little jarring to enter the room. But I lock that up there and I make ready. I give get some of my people, the guard, again, not expecting to use them, but as what is appropriate for someone of my station in the Loretti dynasty, and I make my way to the admiral.
All right. So who's going with Lysandros? Quinilia, you have a private audience later in the evening. So do you want to double up, or are you going to sit this one out?
I will definitely be by Lysandros' side during this trying time.
Yeah. And I announce that, and as I speak, that stern voice that I possess, it is echoed, perhaps more gravelly, perhaps more startlingly than I myself, over the ship's Vox system, as I utilize that implant, which I have, that Vox implant, to make all aware of where I will be, and that now is the time.
And are you bringing Brado and Syntech with you as well?
No, not unless they request it, as I understand that both Brado and Syntech are doing their own.
Syntech would be the highest ranking soldier on board, so he'd be the ideal bodyguard, honored guard, if you will.
Syntech.
Syntech.
Are you still like away from the ship, Syntech?
No, it wouldn't have taken him very long to do that. He could certainly be available.
Okay, then I will definitely request you at my with my entourage.
Okay.
Hey, what about Brado? If Lysandros knows anything about Brado's devious nature, about the listening devices, it might be a good idea to bring him along and maybe plant something in the Admiral's ready room. But I'm not sure, Brado, how much would anyone know about your spying abilities? Yeah. The best spies, of course, are anonymous.
Yeah, I was going to say, they probably don't really know, and he avoids situations where he could fail deception checks like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he's able to access all the cameras, the stuff on the ship, so he's able to, if he really needs to interact with them in some way or send a message, he can just command a servitor in the battle station Hydra to be like, hey, go down to the mess hall and give this script to this guy.
I'm kind of curious. Our ship is fairly old, correct? I mean, like, it did say brass communications, right?
Yeah, we've got like a junk.
Yeah, it's not really known exactly how old the ship is. The records kind of peter off some 70 to 80 years ago. But the earliest records say that it belonged to a governor of a planet called Delphi. So that's the earliest.
Did you ever name that governor, Andrew?
I did not.
Okay. But you can pretty much assume, though, that we have basically modern technology, and then a few things that may be above that as well. The Auspex, the scanners are basically radar, but they do have a few things that they do a little better than radar. And they basically have the what do they call them? Comm beads, which are essentially cell phones. The data slates are essentially like a PDA or a smartphone. So there may be some slight addition and subtraction in some areas. But it's always good to assume they are pretty close to modern technology.
Okay. I just want to get that straight in my head. And then also that when when there's a mass command, basically, like, to the gunners, so to speak, to fire upon this, it is going to suffer that penalty that it's going through a brass tube, basically.
Yeah, that's a -5 to command tests.
Okay.
Okay, so we, again, that's that would we can explain that as just being, we just have a bad comm system. It's crackly, it's staticky, just like Andrew's webcam. And Andrew, you are breaking up a little bit. I don't know if you were able to clean it up from your end at all. I can hear you fine, but I know everyone else is annoyed.
It's on again, off again. I mean, you can understand them.
Okay.
I like the idea
Definitely,
that
yeah.
he's secretly a very advanced servitor, and that's just robot voice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cyberdyne model.
How's it working right now?
A little robot.
Still bad?
You're understandable. No, it's not a massive issue at the moment. But as to Mr. Bretto, are you still knee deep in the data pouring through at this point, pouring through like the witness things and deleting all that stuff, or has that been completed? If it has not, I will continue. I will leave you to that because that is important.
He certainly could be free to accompany if you have reason to bring him along, but as far as you're concerned, he's just a mild-mannered accountant, basically.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't think to.
Yeah, he insists that the duties of the purser are, while perfunctory and not of the greatest import, require fastidious attention to detail and work ethic that will not allow him to enjoy such recreation as visiting other ships very often. And if he has the need for parts that he cannot manufacture himself to fix his cogitators and such, he will visit the battle station again, and of course he'll be happy to go to Caelus' trial if necessary. But no, he must perform his duties. But we wish you the best of luck and the blessings of the Omnissiah or the God Emperor. Yes, God Emperor, not the Omnissiah. Excuse me.
Well, if your character is from a Forge world, he certainly could be of the Mechanicus Creed.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that's what he says. He's right. I'm sorry, the God Emperor. The God Emperor.
He's a secret Mechanicus.
Exactly.
No. So, understood. So, I will leave the diligent purser to his diligent duties.
All right. So you make your way to Battle Station Hydra to treat with Petilia Ingenuus, the Admiral. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
And do you bring Sulpicio Nigrinus, your astrogator, with you as well?
Indeed, as he is technically in command here, and technically you will at least probably the only words he will speak beyond an introduction. He might pipe in ever so briefly with his own connections, as was discussed earlier, but that is right and proper for that to be the case.
All right. So indeed, Sulpicio will walk beside you. He has his long burgundy robes. He's now wearing his finest silks. He has a great deal of gold jewelry on at this point, set with rubies. Of course, he's walking with that ebony wood staff topped with an ivory carved skull. Like many navigators, he has that third eye in the center of his forehead, this stable mutation allowing him to navigate a ship through the warp, through hyperspace. However, he is fairly elderly. I believe we said he is in his 50s at least. Very spirited for his age, but yes. So setting forth, obviously in your own finery, to treat with the Admiral, the war hero who once repelled the Tyrannid swarm Apophis from this sector of space. You find that her ready room where she's meeting you is also very richly appointed, much like your own meeting room. If anything, it might be more well appointed. The only difference would be there are several grisly trophies. You can see some Tyrannid skulls mounted upon the walls, and having them leering down at you with their lamprey-like mouths and their enormous mandibles, their compound eyes in many cases, with their chitinous armor, certainly could put you ill at ease. But otherwise, yes, a thick carpet, gilding along the walls and furnishings, fine crystal chandeliers. You can see a bar, which is tastefully appointed with crystal decanters of anisec. And you see certainly a cigar box, no doubt more high-quality low sticks. And the Admiral herself, Petilia Ingenis, does greet you shortly. She's wearing her dress uniform, the high black boots, the golden trim medals across her chest, epaulettes, and she even has a monocle, a cyber monocle, in her eye. She is quite elderly, probably in her 70s, is how old she looks. You know her actual age to be about twice that, but she's been undergoing rejuvenation treatments to remain young. Her silver hair is up in a bun, still pretty thick for her age. You don't believe that she's wearing a wig, I don't think. But as you come in, actually, let me pull up. She does have someone with her. In fact, as you're greeting her, and she's introduced as Captain Blasia Colonies. So this is Caellus's captain, the one who essentially lost control of her own bridge, and that would be due to Caellus's mutiny, according to Marcus, or Marcus's mutiny, according to Caellus. However, by the fact that you know Blasia is representing Marcus, it's pretty easy to guess what side she's on.
Oh, she's representing Marcus.
She is.
Got it.
She's not yet 40, but she does have several medals pinned to her chest as well, almost as fine a uniform as the Admiral. And you may make a, I believe it would be a common lore test to see what you know about Captain Blasia, or other relevant tests. Inquiry, perhaps?
I'll do inquiry.
Common lore and what? Imperium?
I think it would be the Imperium or the Navy.
Okay.
I'm still getting used to the system myself. Yeah, Common Lore Imperial Navy. If you have anything else that might be relevant, please let me know.
Well, I succeeded with my inquiry test with 6 degrees of success.
All right. So anyone who has succeeded would know that Captain Blasia earned those medals hunting pirates. She's been calling for reform within Battlefleet, within the local Battlefleet. Let me actually get that just so I know I'm pronouncing it right. Battlefleet Abernus. So she's been calling for reforms, that we need to split the fleet up, spread it out, and focus on criminal activities, whereas the Admiral is still masked as if another Tyrannid invasion will happen. She's well prepared for large-scale engagements, but Captain Blasia is saying we need to worry about these pirates. They're eating us alive like piranha. And of course the Admiral has not been listening. So you know by reputation that there's some difference in rhetoric between these two, and many have pegged Blasia as the next Admiral whenever Petilia finally retires after all these decades of service. But you are all, of course, introduced to each other. No doubt there will be some junior officers on hand waiting on you as well. Astrogator Sulpicio is very happy to meet the great hero of the Imperium, Admiral Ingenuus. Your exploits are legendary, and I'm certain that, woman of your wisdom and understanding, we can bring whatever this difficulty is under control.
Indeed, it is an honor to meet you, Admiral. I must say, the witnesses to our gathering would, how do you say, looking to the trophies, the leering trophies, would put me ill at ease if I were not aware that those who put them where they now sit was not she before me. A great honor to be in your presence, and I'll nod to Blasi as well. Like, oh yes, and you.
All right, Petilia's face kind of lights up when you mention the trophies. She did look kind of like uncertain, like she wasn't really comfortable in this gathering. That whatever she was going to have to say would not sit well with her. But once you mention those trophies and her victories, she really perks up, and she says, Yes, Lysandros. They are a constant reminder to me of the dangers which surround us in the void, lurking at all times, ready to strike. But the Imperial Navy will always be here to stop them.
Indeed, the Xenos threat of the Tyrannid swarm is of most highest of dangers, one we must all, who swear allegiance to the God Emperor, be most alert for. And I look as if an afterthought to Blasia, not to diminish the need and for vigilance against the rise of piracy and such privateering, which I note your skill, Captain, at keeping the sector under control for the past several years. It is most appreciated. But as you say with quite truth, Admiral, we must always be vigilant against that most dire of threats, which could rear itself at any moment. We must always be prepared.
Will you make a charm test against Petilia and the same against Blasia, unless you are being sarcastic, in which case make a deceive test.
No, it is a. Well, it's a charm test against the Admiral. It is a deceive against Zalril. I'm going to spend a fate point to re-roll that charm, however.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, I am following him and Caellus through the ship, watching the sensors.
All right.
Okay. So that is going to be a... unfortunately, still a failure for the charm, but a success with 2 degrees of success against the deceive for Blasia.
All right. How many degrees of failure on that charm?
No degrees of failure.
Okay, flat. Excellent.
Yep.
So, as you say that, Petilia actually does seem, still very well disposed, and she starts saying, yes, The threats are constant and faced many of them. This skull here was taken on the ice world of Saboros, and when we came upon them, it melted it into an ocean world. The great pulsing organs of their capillary towers rising into the skies. But we cut it in half with our lance, and blood seemed to fill almost an entire continent. And Petilia just starts rambling.
And I go with it because I of course have that memorance implant feeding off of those reports. Like, yes, I heard the reports, the news feed. I am well familiar with that.
And
incursion.
Blasia just looks at you like you're an idiot. Like, she really believes that you hate pirates, but she knows that your ship has a terrible reputation for piracy. But she believes that you hate pirates, so she thinks you're an idiot, and you have no idea who you're working for, what you're doing, who you're in bed with.
That's fine. I don't need to get in bed with her anyway. It's the Admiral that I'm gonna like. Yes, a tragedy that the loss of the Pillar of Dawn, such a tragic loss, the Battle of the Ariadne, but a worthy sacrifice for the greater good. Surely, if the call had not been made, far more legions would have been lost that day.
So while they're making a small talk about this past history, which Petilia is very happy to do, does Quinilla or Syntek interject at any point?
No, Syntax just listening.
All right. So what about Quinilla?
Quinilla will lean forward and he says, "Yes, I too heard of that battle. You did good work that day, Admiral. It is true what they say that the Imperial Navy is the hammer of the God Emperor. I must say I am truly... The reports I have read, I am truly impressed by your piety and your dedication to this cause."
All right, make a charm test at +10 for invoking piety. And while you guys are talking, Sulpicio has kind of moved over towards the bar area, and he's like pouring himself a drink. Got some ice cubes going on. He's helping himself to one of those fine low sticks. So this the smoke is starting to permeate the room with the various spices mixed into that dry plant that he's smoking.
I'm spending a fate point.
Okay.
Oh, god damn it. Yeah, I got a 94. I believe that is 4 degrees of failure.
All right, well, with the +10, it's only 3 degrees.
Okay.
Every little bit helps.
So as you guys are kind of, reminiscing on Petilia's past glories, and you're really buttering her up, and she doesn't seem to be taking the piety route very well, actually, as if she really thinks of her work as being a most secular pursuit. Although you can tell she is somewhat religious, but she doesn't really mix the two, which is somewhat unusual in the Navy. But as you guys are discussing this, Blasia kind of interjects. She clears her throat and steps forward, and she says, "Well, pleasantries aside, we are here to discuss a matter of dire importance."
Yes, of course.
She glares up at Petilia. Petilia actually is a little bit taller. She's quite tall. She's about 6 feet tall. Blasia is only about She's probably 5'7" ish, maybe 5'7.5".
Yes, yes, the mutiny, the trial. I'm quite curious, how much damage was inflicted in the fight that happened? How many of our brave men lost their life?
I see you have prior knowledge of this mutiny, and mutiny it was. But what I do not see is why your ship has come here, why you feel you can interject on a naval matter.
Surely this is not so unusual for such as is only right and proper given the individuals who are involved, just as the House Perticus has sent such familial individuals, so too does the Reti dynasty send their regards and representation to ensure both the integrity of the Imperial Navy and to ensure that any and all recompense, if indeed is necessary, be provided, as well as to defend the name of Lieutenant Caellus in this matter.
Well, I can assure you that House Perticus has no more standing on this matter than you do yourself. That they, like you, are a neutral party and should remain so. Make a scrutiny test against her.
Okay.
Am I allowed to do that as well?
Yes, anyone who's listening to her, even if it's over a video camera up in the corner.
Is scrutiny perception?
I believe it's fellowship.
I
could be wrong.
The same score, so it doesn't particularly matter.
It is perception.
Okay, it's perception then.
I don't have the trait, so I'm rolling against a 20. I do not succeed.
I'm going to spend another fate point. There we go. That's better. Yes.
All right, so anyone with a success
Success.
knows she's lying, as circumstances would indicate. But you now definitely heard it from her mouth. Like, you're quite certain now. House Perticus is involved.
So I smile at that, and I nevertheless, knowing that, hearing from her mouth that she is lying, and knowing myself that of such precedents, indeed, Captain, such is typically the case, as you say. That, of course, surely in the matters where we are all aware of the directive that holds this particular sector in its jurisdiction as of the most recent imperial missive of directing events in the wake of the Tyrannid threat. The jurisdiction of this sector where the vessel was at the time of the war games, as I understand it, are altered to include such open representation in this matter, as we are all well aware.
So is Lysandros trying to argue that Caellus should have alternate representation? Is that correct?
I'm with one hand acknowledging, yes, of course, like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but with the other, acknowledging the fact that I know that that's not true, that that the Loretti house is, or at least we, are granted more than what she is saying. She is trying to frame the argument. I am letting her know that I know that's not actually the correct framing. So I'm not, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yes. I understand it was a most chaotic circumstance, a series of events that led to much chaos and confusion amongst the bridge crew during the most recent wargame operations, not so far distant from this station. Thankfully, was in the vicinity that such could be corralled under control, and we could all meet here to discuss, and surely given proper company, we will come to all things will come to their appropriate conclusions.
It was an exercise designed to invoke the chaos of real battle, to see who was worthy, who had the mettle, and who would fold under pressure, as Caellus did. But I assure you, Battle Station Hydra was not needed to bring the mutineers to heel.
Yes, you mentioned Caellus and Marcus as well. I understand that from what I have been informed of, that it was with the noble scion of Hasperticus this situation began. I understand there was a alleged malfunction of the bridge computers.
Well, you have a misunderstanding of the situation then, as Lieutenant Marcus had nothing to do with it.
No.
It was entirely the fault of Caellus. And I do not wish to speak ill of your master and his family, but since we are discussing the facts of the incident, I am forced to.
My
Captain
sincere...
Glacia, if I may interject, you still have yet to answer my original question of the exact number of casualties the mutiny incurred. You say that Battle Station Hydra was not needed to quell this mutiny, and yet you do not answer such basic questions as the exact number of the precise amount of damage done to your own ship.
It was more a matter of disorder than it was of true harm. But it could have escalated. There were fewer than a dozen fatalities.
Yes, and how long did it take for this mutiny to be quelled?
It was over in a few minutes, but that is not the point. The point is, it is insubordination, regardless of whether it endangers.
The records I heard was that the report I heard was that it was a ship-wide mutiny. Are these reports false?
There may have been other supporters.
So, what was the exact amount of time that the mutiny happened? How long was the actual event?
She like looks at Petilia, and Blasi is clearly very uncomfortable with this line of questioning, and she says, "This should be discussed in open court. Should not be public knowledge."
We mean no disrespect, Captain, Admiral. This is, thankfully, no public affair. It is alarming to hear that the information that we have received is incorrect. We simply wish, as is understandable, to realize the facts of this matter from your mouth, Captain. I must say, I'm relieved to know that you were not there in person to have experienced such grievous physical harm as was, I understand, the case. Right? Sort of is kind of a double thing. You weren't there, lady, but surely that is a blessing from the God Emperor, as you were not injured.
Yes.
She just sneers at you. You can see Petilia is very uncomfortable with all of this social maneuvering and the very tense conversation.
Where was your person, Blasia, at the time of the incident?
I had been removed from the bridge to test the battle worthiness of my crew without me. It's a standard tactic in these exercises.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed. Again, apologies for line of questioning. It is no mere motivation beyond the desire for the truth, which is, of course, what we all strive for in these matters. It is the foundation upon the Emperor's justice. Perhaps
Most definitely, most assuredly.
But the
you
best
can...
apology would certainly be to cease this inquiry.
I understand. My apologies. Perhaps you would enlighten us in your own words, then, of what occurred, rather than such questioning in the dark. I do not mean to presuppose my position. It is, of course, your station to speak of what occurred, not for me to request it of you.
Well, the truth shall certainly come out at the trial, and until then, only those directly involved should be involved. If we were to show preference for you, it would invite House Perticus to get involved as well, and I'd hate to see this fall out of our jurisdiction.
Oh, indeed, I most certainly agree. I understand that Caellus has at present no official representation of his own, but as you have stated, as we all agree, we do not wish to muddy the waters with preferential treatment or any muddying of concerns. I heard, perhaps I am incorrect in this as well. It seems my information is shoddy at best. I do apologize for that. That you will be providing legal representation, legal counsel for Marcus, who, like Caellus, was also under your command in these matters.
I will be representing the loyal crewmen of my ship, especially those who have had slanderous charges placed against them in this counter-suit that Caellus has insisted on launching.
Surely that is the course and purpose for this trial, to determine such loyalty amongst all parties, to presuppose such... surely that is not your intention, but you must understand, those not as ingrained in naval culture, how confusing that might be. Surely it would be more appropriate for equal representation of those whom are not affiliated with the Imperial Navy in these matters, as the Navy is the aggrieved party in this, and is them whom will be the judge in these matters, rather than the legal counsel. Would you not agree, Admiral?
The Admiral looks very uncomfortable about this, but she does kind of nod, and she makes almost a non-committal answer, and she says, like, Caellus is entitled to representation as he sees fit to enact it. It shall be done under the laws of the Imperium.
Indeed, and surely, of course, we would not wish to sully the name of the Imperial Navy or such effrontery. But to have the Navy represent both the be representative both as judge and as attorney in these matters would not do, as surely there is a conflict of interest. As captain, you have both the aggrieved parties, both the defendant and the plaintiff in this matter are both those under your jurisdiction.
Blasia looks at you as if you were an idiot, and she says, "The point of a court-martial is that it is an internal naval tribunal. It is not supposed to involve outsiders, and that's exactly what I told you when you brought the subject up. That you do not belong here any more than House Perticus would, or any more than the Mechanicus would, or a Navigator House," and she looks over at Nigrinus.
And what about me? Do you think I should be here? Do you not believe that the God Emperor should have a say in this trial?
Make a intimidate test.
At this point, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna make a test, I should say, to like start piping in, inspiring like church music, basically from like other rooms, so that you can hear it in the room you're in, but it's not like obviously being, you know.
All right.
That's awesome.
Oh, I failed. I rolled 92.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Even with my amazing tech skills, 92. No.
I'm going to spend a fate point again.
I'll spend a fate point too. I want that to succeed.
I don't think you need to roll for that, Mike.
Okay.
I think you're just you should be able to achieve that without a roll.
Oh well.
Oh, should I?
Still spend the fate point.
You need to roll, Micah, but Mike doesn't need
okay.
to roll for that, for what he's trying to do. But Quinilla,
Unfortunately, I don't. I got a 21, and my strength is a 30, but I don't have intimidate as a skill. So.
All right. Well, she does look pretty intimidated as you say that. You know, again, you're getting a bonus for piety in this case.
All right, cool.
So she does look kind of cowed by that. Like, she clearly doesn't want to give you an answer. Like, she doesn't want to say yes, but she doesn't want to say no. You really backed her into a corner.
Indeed, as ever, the voice of the Emperor speaks words wise and true in this matter. Surely the impartial and highest of authorities should be a part of this affair, as any threat of any kind, as we all know. I sort of nod to the Admiral of threats of all sorts and of all kinds, of crucial importance.
Lysandros, make a charm test at plus 20.
And I'm not sure if I'm getting it over right, but I was trying to like put it out there. Like, there's clearly conflict of interest that Captain Blasia is being a lawyer to one of the parties, and you know what I mean, and not the other when they're both under.
Unfortunately,
I get it.
It is a corrupt system. So pointing out that the system's corrupt is just
right.
They know it's corrupt. They don't care. It's
Right.
always been done this way. Isn't that the famous the worst thing you can ever hear someone say is
right.
It's always been done this way.
Absolutely. You said a charm?
Yeah, plus 20.
Great. That is going to be a success with 2 grades of success.
Excellent.
This whole time
Actually,
I've literally
3 grades
just
of
been.
success. My apologies.
This whole time I've literally just been staring at Blasia, just waiting for an answer.
Yeah, she's just getting more and more nervous.
And
But-
I'm trying to avoid Blasia entirely and just talk to the Admiral.
Yeah, Petilia does kind of nod her head at you, Lysandros, and she says, "Yes, the wisdom of the God Emperor is welcome everywhere. Perhaps if Confessor Quinilla feels moved, and then he could stand at Caellus' side." She nods her head. You can see she looks very relieved. Like this removes anything from her shoulders, and she's very happy to find some way to give up some responsibility and give up some of the power for this tribunal.
Well, I would like to remind you, Admiral, that I am a true neutral party in this affair, as I have served aboard both the Golden Dawn as well as the
Ferrum Tempestus.
what was it called?
The Ferrum Tempestus.
Ferrum Tempestus. Okay.
The Iron Storm.
Iron Storm.
Yes, I've served both aboard the Golden Dawn as well as the Iron Storm.
I think it was the Golden Dream.
Golden
I think
Dream.
you messed
Golden
everybody's name up, but yes.
Right.
And actually, Quinella, what is public knowledge exactly about your history with the Golden Dream and with House Perdiccas? What's public knowledge that everyone would know?
I served aboard it as a confessor.
And is
And, yeah.
okay.
I served aboard it for about 4 years.
All right. So if let me see, if Darius Perdiccas, the captain of the ship, what would he know about your character? Because he's been the captain except for a certain period of time. He's pretty much always been the captain. So what would he know about your character, if anything?
I'm going to send you this via Facebook message.
Okay, I'll open my Facebook. I'll check that. We're gonna have our break in a little bit when this scene's finished, so I'll check it then. It's not immediately relevant. But Blasia does kind of backs down. She says, "Yes, the God Emperor is welcome everywhere, of course."
It's good to hear you say that. I look very pointedly at her.
Right, and of course that the hymns from the other room. Ha, the hymns. Yes. So Ingenis kind of like claps her hand together and she's like, "It's good that the Emperor will bless these proceedings. They will be most fair to both parties." And she's kind of smiling at this, as if some guilt has been removed from her conscience.
As previously been stated, what all parties desire in this matter, justice in the eyes of the Emperor to be done with a fair and impartial eye, and an even-handed stroke. As what we do here and what we do in all places is under his watchful gaze.
And Petilia like nods, smiling. She's like, "Yes." And Blasia like nods, like, yes, that is true. Like very begrudging. Is there anything further you discuss with Petilia or Blasia at that point?
Oh, absolutely. I gestures now. Sort of as that unpleasant business is behind us. Tell me more, Admiral, of these things. So I want to sort of get. I don't know if Blasia is going to leave either because of her duties or out of disgust for me and this whole situation or not. But I would like to, if possible, get her ear away from Blasia. I don't know if such a thing is possible.
Yeah, it's such a small gathering, and Blasia doesn't seem like she's going to leave, even though she's heard all of these stories like a million times.
I'm laying it on oh yes, and there were 247 crew that were lost, but Captain Alamarius, he recovered and told of that great deed which led to to the day being saved. Oh yes, and oh he's a captain now. Oh how interesting.
Is there anything further Quinilla brings up in this meeting? You remember, you
No,
do
I just
still
sort of
have that private meeting with the Admiral later as well.
definitely. I will just sort of nod along with Lysandros.
Okay. So Blasia seems very determined not to leave you alone with the Admiral, Lysandros. So do you just kind of stick to small talk and end the meeting, or do you bring up anything else?
So if I'm unable to do that, she doesn't leave. I will. It's clear not getting
Yeah,
any
not
further.
unless perhaps Mike wants to like have Captain Blasia paged, so she has to leave. If you want.
Captain Velocity is the lawyer for the other people. You do. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
He's doing something else right now, actually, which you'll find out later.
So was there anything else of import,
No, so-
Lysandros?
Well, as we wrap things up, Admiral, Captain, my gratitude once more to you both for the opportunity to speak with you and for the pleasant exchange of past deeds and accomplishments. It was most entertaining and even more inspiring. I'm pleased we had this opportunity to discuss in order to expedite such impartial jurisdictions. I'm eager, as no doubt we all are, to see justice be served in its most even-handed way. And I know that you each have responsibilities and duties. And I do believe I would not impede. I hand to the Admiral and to the Confessor, impede the religious rites any further than I already have with my meandering ramblings. It is
Yes,
a
I
blessing
am
and
quite
boon of
looking
mine.
forward to our confessional, Admiral. It is something that I've been awaiting with bated breath, and I give the very tiniest of a smile in Blasia's direction.
And Blasia is like, she's obeying the formalities, saying goodbye, but she's very cold and icy. Petilia actually, she seems like she had a surprisingly good time discussing the old war stories and shirking responsibility for the trial. It was a big success in her eyes, obviously.
I will take my leave. Admiral, it was the utmost of pleasures, and Captain Blasia, an honor to meet with you as well. Your deeds are known far and wide as well, and I have no doubt that your future endeavors, and in particular that which transpires here, and I sort of look at the Admiral as I do it, that transpires here will hold great future and opportunity for you in this sector in the coming years. I look forward to seeing what you make of it.
She
I sort
kind
of I look at the Admiral and like I sort of glance at her, try to give her a message. I don't know if you want me to roll for that,
No, that's not necessary.
or it's like,
Yeah.
hey Admiral, watch this one. She wants your job. Clearly, there's some power play, even right here from this side. So think about that kind of a deal. Then I
Right.
smile and bow and I take my leave.
All right. So I think we're exactly at 9 o'clock. So maybe we'll have our 5-minute break. Come back for part 2 of session 2. Sound good?
Sure.
Perfect. Be right back.
One more thing, David.
Yep.
Can you tell me how are you hearing me? Are you hearing me okay? No
Yeah,
good right
connection
now.
problems.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
good.
I'm good. All right. Apparently, I just have to strip my desktop of every every little other bit other than Hangouts to make it work. So okay.
That's why I never have my Facebook open while I'm gaming. But I will read your message.
Man.
Man, those Pentium 2s, telling you.
All right.
Okay,
See you in
so
a couple minutes.
be back in 5.
All right.
I was going to mention something, Andrew, but I shouldn't do it on the air. So I don't know why, but some of my friends watch my damn channel. I don't know why you'd watch my channel if you could just talk to me, but they do. So I can't talk trash about anybody because they might find out.
The better reason to talk trash about them, to humiliate them in public.
No, I don't want to humiliate anybody. I'm just, I'm a gossip, so I just like to ramble about what's going on. Did you see Buddy's post in the Samurai game?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he said he wants to play as like an evil blood sorcerer, and I was like, well, as long as you fit in with like the storyline, fine. But the storyline involves witch hunters, not witches. So if you think you can make it work, go for it. But don't mess it up for everybody else. So I don't know, because some players they could handle it and some could not. So most that you meet in an online pickup game cannot. We'll see.
It's like playing a necromancer in a group of undead hunters, or
Yeah, which could work, but it could not. It all depends on the situation. Micah, did you get my response?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It's a very good point. Perhaps a bit of a flaw in my plan.
Well, it could. There are a lot of different ways you could pull it off that you'd be just fine, right? Like you could just say, oh, I was so low ranking that I was on the ship, but nobody knows I was on the ship. You could always try to pull it off that way, but there are other ways you could pull it off as well. I just Quinilla would have thought about this beforehand, so I wanted to just warn you beforehand.
I didn't get a response, but I didn't think I married one. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Because the one thing, I think you just say that in session. You don't need to shoot it to me.
Well, I wanted it to be a fun surprise. It'll be more satisfying when they figure things out.
Okay. I'm not sure I really understood the exact timing and mechanics of it, though. I mean, we're all kind of, if it was the home game, maybe just drag me into the other room, but we're doing an online game and we're kind of all able to see each other's backstories anyway. I'm sure we can trust everyone not to metagame. So if you want to narrate that, I think you should do it.
Okay, is everybody back?
Yep.
So as you guys are returning to the Ferris Tempestus from Battle Station Hydra, the airlock closes behind you. Suddenly warning klaxons turn on, and it seems that there's been like a compromise or something, and it's about to open into space, and for a good minute there you have to freak out like, oh my god, we're going to die! And then everything resumes normally, and there are no other technical issues. Turns out it was a false flag, and you get back onto the Ferris Tempestus without anyone dying.
Going to flog that technician.
Well, when you look into it, it looks like it had nothing to do with the Ferris Tempestus.
Yeah, it's probably not Engine Seer Pius's fault, which is your chief engineer. It was their system.
It was from Battle Station Hydra, right?
All right, so you guys have now returned. We should probably run through next Quinilla's scene. So Quinilla, you're meeting in private with Admiral Petilia is actually like 45 minutes after this kind of more public meeting. So you are kind of ushered out with everyone. Petilia, of course, acknowledges, I'll be seeing you very shortly. There's just something that I have to take care of. So you are ushered out briefly with everyone else.
Where will the confessional take place?
This is my home away from home, as it were. And she looks up, smiling at the fucking Tyrannid skulls mounted up on the wall, and you can tell they're a constant source of satisfaction for her that she can look at these horrible monsters that she put down. So you leave, and not very long after, Petilia's yeoman, or one of the junior lieutenants, ushers you back inside, and you're probably expecting Petilia to be there alone, but as you enter the room, you see that she is not alone. She has she has two gentlemen with her, and you may not recognize them in person, but certainly by reputation, that you recognize Darius Perdiccas, the patriarch, the rogue traitor of House Perdiccas, the captain of the Golden Dream, except for that brief 4-year period. And also his son is with him as well, which is Alcesimus Perdiccas, who is known to be a gentleman of great piety. So Alcesimus is the one on the far right in that image. The one on the left is actually Marcus. But Darius is kind of an older gentleman. He's probably just shy of 50 in physical age. He has a scar over his right eye. He's got a shaved head, probably because he's going bald, and a very immaculately trimmed mustache and goatee. His son is completely clean shaven, and he's wearing kind of tinted spectacles or sunglasses of a very conservative make and function. Darius is wearing this military style dress, but it's in red and burgundy, and it's got a tremendous amount of gold trim. He's wearing gold jewelry. He's you've certainly probably seen more gaudy figures. He's for someone in his position, he's relatively conservatively dressed. And then his son is very conservatively dressed. He's wearing kind of plain blacks, dark purples, just a tiny bit of gold trim. And he has a lot of imperial aquillas, the holy symbol of the emperor, just sparsely placed about his dress, does Alcesimus. So you enter on this scene, and they're all kind of talking around the desk with Admiral Petilia, and as you come in, they kind of turn, and you can see they're smoking these fine cigars, and they have drinking amasec. And Petilia kind of waves to you, and says, "Oh, Quinilla, my dear sir, I'm sorry I've come in. I was just concluding my business with Lord Captain Darius. Can you make a scrutiny test as you're coming into the room to assess the situation?"
Yeah, I failed.
All right. So it legitimately seems to you like Petilia just forgot and got her timing messed up. She does seem at times rather doddering. She can really hold a conversation about old war stories and Tyranids, but as soon as she starts coming into like the present, the future, last week, she starts to get a little hazy. So you're not tremendously surprised she's forgotten. You just think this is perhaps an unfortunate coincidence.
Yes, I sit down at the table and I nod to Darius and his son.
And Petilia kind of like she smiles and she seems a little awkward. Uh, Lord Lord Captain Darius, this is the High Confessor Quinilla Casimir of the. She kind of hesitates for a moment. Of the Ferrum Tempestus. And Darius kind of looks at you and he extends his hand. He has a polite smile on his face.
A simple representative of the Church of the God Emperor. I take his hand and smile warmly back at him.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. The God Emperor holds half of my heart. My other half, only my family could distract me from his grace.
That's most understandable. Family is a very important virtue.
And Petilia seems a little confused, and she's, I thought that you had known each other. Darius looks at Petilia as if, like, is she forgetting something again? Is she getting confused? And Petilia says, well, had you not said, Quinilla, you served aboard the Golden Dream?
Yes, that is true.
Oh, perhaps apologies are in order then. He like looks you up and down. I don't seem to recall at what time we had met.
Oh, we have not met, but I have served aboard your ship. It must have been at least 7 years ago. My good captain, I served under your daughter, Noradine, for around 4 years as her personal confessor.
And you can see like a shadow come over his face. 7 years ago, under Noradine. I was not under the impression that my daughter would take confession in those days.
Yes, they were dark days, I will admit. But I tried to steer her back in the right direction, back into the God Emperor's grace. And she did return to you, so I would say that I was partially successful in that.
Do you feel a deceive test is in order for that, Micah?
Sure.
Yeah. If you're not being honest, make the test. If you actually believe that, you can make charm instead.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a deceive test. I pass.
Excellent. Make a second deceive test.
I fail.
How much did you fail by?
So every 10 is a degree, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. 2, and then carry the 1. It looks like 4 degrees of failure.
Okay. So Darius kind of nods his head, and he says, "I am glad to see that even in her darkest days, Nordine had not fallen that far. It was strange, though, when the dream was returned to us, the lower decks were lost to the God Emperor. We found an entrenched heresy. And that your poker face is what that second deceive test was for. So describe your reaction."
There is perhaps the slightest trace of like fear passes over Quinella's face, and he kind of shifts nervously a bit in his seat. Yes, dark days for all those aboard the Golden Dream. I am ever so glad that you, from what I've heard, you have scrubbed those lower decks clean of any heresy that may still be there.
"Oh, yes. Yes, we saw to that." And he looks over at his son, and Alcesimus looked just aghast at the mention of heresy, at the reminder of his sister's fall from grace. But
I would like to mention that heresy was only in the lower decks. Your sister, your daughter, most of the commanding officers were not part of that.
do you need to make a deceive or a charm test against that?
Charm test.
All right. It's always fun when you try to charm him and he like thinks they're lying or something. So you failed it.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So I'm rolling a fate point.
Okay.
And I still failed. 2 degrees.
All right. So I have no doubt of my daughter's current virtue, and that is enough for me. It must be my solace. Quinilla, I can see in your eyes that this heresy is not a shock to you. But have no fear, for even Alcemus will understand, pious though he is, my son who I'm so proud of. Sometimes those beneath our station can escape our notice. Why, I believe one of Petilia's vessels recently underwent a mutiny. Certainly we can forgive her for this slight, the scum coming up through the ranks, coming up to a station where they did not belong. He looks at you very pointedly, as if he's trying to read your reaction to that.
By the scum, I'm assuming you speaking of Caellus.
I would never besmirch a fellow noble's name. Such, I would leave it to him to make his own reputation. And he looks over at Alcesmus. I believe this individual has indeed made quite a reputation for himself.
Yes,
Hardly-
most unfortunate reputation. A dastardly one, I would say. Definitely, perhaps not befitting of his place as an officer.
That is what I have heard. As he looks at you, he's really trying to size up like whose side you're on. If you have any affection for Caellus, or if he can somehow, coerce you. He's just trying to size you up at this moment.
Should I make another deceive test?
Whatever you want. The ball's kind of in your court. How do you react to what he's saying? He's basically trash talking Caellus. Do you go along with it?
I'm nodding and agreeing.
All right. So I will get you to make a deceive test then, unless you really do think Caellus is trash.
Oh, I don't know enough about Caellus to make that assumption, but I'm agreeing to him. And I got a 7, so I passed.
Excellent. So he kind of nods his head and says, Petilia, were you not telling me that Quinilla, you're representing Caellus. Of course you'd be familiar with the case then.
As best as I can, I'd like to get a little bit more of the facts. There was a mutiny across Captain Blasia's ship, I understand. Several dozen fatalities. Most
Foul
unfortunate.
deeds. And this Caellus has even implicated my own son, my elder, saying that he was the cause. I was worried until I have now spoken with you, and I know that you will see proper justice done.
Well, I will do my best to serve the God Emperor's justice. My understanding was that these two had been, well, in conflict for many years prior to this mutiny. Many duels, many various issues. Is that correct, Patilia?
Patilia is just like, she looks very uncomfortable with this whole situation. She says, I believe it was so that there's some enmity between the boys. She keeps looking at Darius as if, like, hoping he'll just feed her lines or something. And he does kind of nod. He says, yes. This Caellus is, as you said, has a vicious reputation, calling men out for duels for no reason better than to slake his thirst for blood. But Quinilla, though, let us not speak of such dark matters here. I've forgotten to introduce you properly to my son, Alcesimus. You may not know that he has his own frigate now, the Crusader. He has been spreading the word and the light of the God Emperor through the stars. He has received much tithe from the shrine worlds, grown quite rich. He is seeking out, of course, suitable places where this wealth can do good for the citizens of the Imperium. Is it not so, Alcesimus, that you are looking for a new High Confessor for your ship? And Alcesimus kind of, he like bows in reverence to you. He looks up and smiles. Yes, Father, that is so. If only I could find someone worthy to help me allocate these funds, to help me find the place where this tithe could do the most good. And he does like extend his hand as well to shake your hand.
I shake his hand back and warmly smile. I've heard of your deeds. You do good work in the name of the God Emperor.
All work done in the name of the God Emperor is good. It could not be otherwise.
Most assuredly.
Can you make a inquiry test to see what you've heard about this individual? See if you know anything about his reputation.
Inquiry is what?
It's a fellowship base. If you have any other relevant skill, I think like a lore ecclesiarchy might apply in this case. Let me know. You can roll that instead.
I got a 10 on an inquiry test.
All right, excellent. So you have indeed heard that that Alcesimus has been spreading the word of the God Emperor, and the way he spreads the word seems to be a lot of like burning heretics and burning mutants and burning people who have talked to aliens. A lot of burnings going on. Pretty much everything you've heard about him has been how he's like this great paladin, this crusader, spreading the good word of the Emperor at the barrel of a flamer, and indeed, like looking down at his he is kind of wearing a robe, but like a suit underneath, and you can see that he does have a flamer pistol holstered in his belt. Very finely made, gilded and quite opulent. It's covered in flames in gold filigree. But his reputation is certainly as something of a pyromaniac.
You say you're looking for a new High Confessor.
Yes, I'm always searching for those who can help me to serve the God Emperor better. But those who he like keeps looking at his father, and his father's like, kind of like sternly looking at Alcesimus. With those who show proper judgment in the favor of truth, which is illuminated only by the God Emperor.
I see. I'm kind of quiet for a moment as I'm kind of... It's almost like he's offering me a job kind of thing.
Or a bribe, yes.
Or a bribe, yes.
As if to say, if you rule against Caellus, this very wealthy pilgrim vessel could have a home for you.
Well, I do not wish to be rude, but I did come here today with the intention to take confessional with the Admiral.
Oh, of course, we're standing in the way of divine mission. And Alcesimus smiles and bows, making the sign of the Aquila once again.
I return it.
Darius, somewhat less ostentatiously pious, does shake your hand again and excuse himself. That was a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Perhaps you can take my confession someday.
I would be honored, sir.
He bows, and the two members of House Perdiccas also, of course, say their partings to Petilia before taking their leave.
So as they leave, I will take out my censer and light some incense to remove the fragrance of cigarette smoke from the room.
All right. Petilia, she still looks very uncomfortable, and I'm sorry for getting my timing mixed up.
Oh, it is quite all right, my dear. I realize that you have duties that come first.
Is there anything that you speak to the Admiral about while you're taking her confession?
Yes, I ask her her opinion of these recent events. I say this is such an ordeal, isn't it? Such a trying matter. It must weigh upon you quite heavily, my dear.
It does. It does, Your Excellency. If I can just try to find the wisdom of the God Emperor, as I've always tried to do, but not every foe is a tyrannid that can be struck down with blade and beam.
Yes, quite true, quite true.
Some merely have the heart of a tyrannid, but the face of a man.
And what of Caellus? What do you think of him?
In truth, I've never met the lad. His service record is exemplary. I've heard it was Janice that helped arrange this meeting, and she spoke most highly of Caellus. She seems a good lass. But in truth, I know little of him. Only his family's reputation is most. And she looks at you as if remembering you're on their ship.
I kind of nod, like I understand what she's saying.
Yes, but one should not always be judged solely on their reputation. And
true, quite true. The God Emperor works in he is a very strong, righteous God, but many forget that he does have a forgiving side, a loving side. It is important not to judge one, not to damn one until we can be certain of their heresy, of their wrongdoing. In the coming trial, I would urge you to be open-minded. Despite Caellus's horrid reputation, I believe that is perhaps mainly the domain of his father, to be quite honest.
Yes, I have heard rumor that Lucius placed his son here to remove him from his own corrupting influence, that Lucius hardly trusts himself. But there are so many rumors throughout the fleet.
Perhaps he placed him here because he was not compatible with what Lucius was doing. That whole family has something off about it, which is why my mission on board that ship is so important. But I believe that the fact that Caellus was removed from that equation, that he was placed in such a high position, perhaps says something, don't you?
Yes. It's difficult to weigh out. She keeps kind of like looking back towards the door where Darius exited from, as if Darius is weighing heavily on her mind.
So basically this entire confessional, I'm just going to keep like throwing out the notion that perhaps Caellus isn't as guilty as he might appear. Perhaps I will preach about leniency, about forgiveness of the God Emperor. May I make a charm test?
Yes.
I'm going to spend a fate point.
Okay.
Alright, I passed the second time.
All right. Her confessions are pretty pretty mild mannered, really. You almost get the feeling that she's probably holding something back, but she does go through the confessional, and there are certainly a lot of things she forgot to do that she should have done, that she's confessing for it at this point. So definitely like the traces of senility there, that I forgot to resupply the ammo on this ship, and then they went into battle and ran out of guns, ran out of heavy stubber ammunition, and they had to resort to ramming. just things like that, where it's like she's clearly not like really good at managing a lot of these day-to-day things, but she's clearly is trying to do it, because she keeps confessing to you about how she's fucking it up. So she probably doesn't have a lot of skill at delegating or trusting people to delegate properly. So
During the confessional, I'd like to try and get how she feels that the trial will go.
She seems very, very apprehensive about how it's going to go. Like she's keeps saying, like, I hope that the God Emperor can guide me to the right decision. And every time you bring up like justice and mercy and what's right, she's always like, what is the right decision? She almost is averse to saying the word justice.
I'm sorry, but where am I at this point, Syntech? Because he's doing some kind of confessional with her, so where am I in comparison with Lysandros and Quinella?
I think everyone else would have just gone. Well, we'll jump back to everyone else. Let's just finish this scene with Quinella, and then you guys can catch up on what you've been doing.
Absolutely. I just didn't know if we split up or not. That's all I was asking.
Or Quinella split off from the rest of you. Yes.
All right, gotcha.
So you were saying, David?
Yeah, she's kind of avoiding using the word justice or fairness or right, like in terms of like what is the right thing to do for the God Emperor. You almost get the feeling she's concerned with what's the right thing for her to do, not the right thing to do in terms of what's right for the universe, but what's right for her universe. But she is very conflicted. You can definitely sense that.
Well, throughout the confessional, I'll just keep hammering home, mercy, fairness, blah, blah, blah. I'll keep reminding her how terrible Lucius is and how there must be a reason that Caellus was sent away, away from the corrupting heresy of his father.
All right.
And then we will wrap up. I will lead her in prayer and we'll wrap up.
All right. So we'll jump back. So actually, let's jump back to Caellus. You've just been sitting there forever, Andrew. What is Caellus doing?
That's okay. I mean, honestly, my character is mostly. I'm not really certain about how, like, when the actual trial is happening. So for the most part, I'm getting, I'm keeping mostly updated on the situation via comm beat. Of course, nothing confidential, just basics. So they can't tap into our lines. Or if they do, nothing bad is revealed. But I'm trying to be a good little boy, basically, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I do at some point actually, get on my knees and do pray to the God Emperor that, that give me another chance, give me another shot. I messed this up. Perhaps I shouldn't have fought back. Perhaps that was the mistake. Perhaps I should have done better. Perhaps I shouldn't have been goaded so easily by that brute of a man, that Marcus. I will make it right if you spare me. But that's basically pretty much all that I'm doing at the moment. So.
All right. So we will then jump back to the rest of our daring heroes. So what have you guys been doing, if anything? And Quinilla, you can certainly interject at some point. Your interview with the House Perdiccas and the Admiral, couldn't have lasted more than maybe an hour total. So
where is our captain at the moment?
I'm in the infirmary, acting like a good little boy.
Or,
Mm-hmm.
You mean Sulpicio or Caellus?
What?
Sulpicio is officially the captain at the moment.
Oh, I was talking about Caellus, yes.
Okay.
So I'd like at some point to collect the High Factorum and head to the infirmary to discuss some things with the captain. Actually, preferably I'd like to bring the captain back onto our ship again to discuss some things privately with him.
Okay. Well, let's check in with our factotum and our purser and our arch militant first. So what are the three of you doing?
I will be terribly surprised when I find out about the airlock thing and suggest that perhaps we should have our Mechanicus make sure that nobody is tampering with any of the trial stuff on behalf of House Perkins.
Yes. I do not believe... Check it, or have someone else check it. I do not believe it will come to anything. It was a message.
Okay, so I was just accompanying Lysandros into the airlock when the klaxons went off and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I'm just there, as usual.
Yeah, you're just confirming, like, we would have survived. I could have done this or that or whatever, but it stopped, so.
They mean to show their dominance, their perceived control over this situation.
Well, I have allocated funds for the moral correcting of individuals that plan to perjure themselves.
How many do we have?
House Perticus. I don't know. A couple thousand Imperial credits that I can throw around.
I mean, how many people have we bought?
Oh, I have not bought anyone yet. I'm waiting for the express command of Caellus and yourself.
See that it's done. We will need to expend the resources if we are to overcome the dominance of Perticus. They have their tendrils even as far up as the Admiral, though I suspect that reach is not so thorough as to be control. Not yet.
With all due respect, sir, I lack the social graces and fluidity that you do. Mine is simply to make your resources available, not to utilize them. I feel might have a slip of the tongue or speak out of turn. Perhaps play our
No need to speak to them in person. Have a directive, have a communique sent to them. This need not be something done in person, though if they wish to escalate it. Greed is its own seductive partner.
I assume that I'm hearing this conversation, that I'm with both of you?
Yeah.
Absolutely?
Yeah.
Well, I could also persuade those who would not be bought.
Save that for the second round of negotiations if they are needed.
That's
They will
what I
not
mean.
take the carrot. You will be the stick. Now, we'll have to... So, I would have asked, my apologies for not doing so, but when is the trial to take place? How long do we have?
As soon as everything is arranged. Now that there's been a change in the defense, you guys will certainly be allowed time to get your arguments in order.
So is this like...
Basically, they've already got theirs set up, but you are being given time. So pretty much as soon as you guys want to.
Is it like surely it's not like later today kind of a thing. There's at least a day, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, well, it's as soon as you guys want. If you know, now that you are the defense.
Okay.
So if you wanted it to be later today, it could be. But if you wanted it to be next week, it could be that too.
So what would Casimir's part in the trial be?
You're basically the lawyer at this point.
Yeah, okay.
You're the only legitimate person who could actually be even possibly considered as a lawyer, just because under normal circumstances it would be a naval representative with me. But these are not normal circumstances, so we're doing the best we can.
Right.
Is the captain with us during this meeting? I'm going to assume I show up.
I don't know. Are you with them at this point, Caellus? Would you leave?
We can. I mean, if that's where things are kind of headed, then I certainly. If we have more, see, I thought it was happening more imminently. So.
Well, now
it
makes sense for you to be there if we are to be, or if the confessor is to be your legal counsel. It makes sense for you to be there and to not discuss these things in an infirmary.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're all there on board
Yes.
the ship. At this point, I will speak up and I will say I had the most interesting meeting with the Perticus family today.
My face has a glowering shadow over it.
Yes, they seem to be quite in close with the Admiral.
Yes, indeed. You simply you must not understand the political situation that's going on. They have the Navy in their pocket. They are the providers of many of their supplies that the Navy has. That's their main form
They
of
also
business.
offered me a position aboard their ship. It seems that the Golden Dream is in need of a new confessor. Although I must wonder what happened to the old confessor.
Well, with a man like him, I don't think it takes very much imagining. He's a very overzealous fellow, as I'm sure you are aware.
Do you?
Yeah, it was the Crusader that they were offering you a position on board, which is a smaller
Yes.
pilgrim ship. Although pilgrim, but it's extremely heavily armed, and they blow up a lot of heretics.
I was perhaps wondering how we might use that to our advantage if we could gain access to the Crusader.
I think that's a very dangerous course, and perhaps not necessary. I think it perhaps would be best if we start discussing my legal defense. I think that it shouldn't be very hard to poke some holes in their arguments that they send against me, but some counter arguments perhaps would also be advised.
Certainly, let them believe that you will be taking this offer, that you are on their side and will rule according to their whims. Well, not rule, but counsel according to their objectives. Perhaps an additional meeting might be in order between you and Darius, or one of the Perticus family.
What do you think this would accomplish, Lysandros?
Try to
Further
gain,
meeting.
if you can. Go ahead.
Try to what? I'm sorry.
Perhaps if you come in close, being receptive to this offered position of prosperity and of prestige, perhaps you can learn what their strategy, what they have arrayed against Caellus. Perhaps indeed you can offer them some of our own strategy. Of course, what you will be telling them will not be at all what we intend to do. We will have our own schemes and our own contingencies, but if you reveal to them ways in which House Loretti, allegedly, according to you, will be arranging themselves to position this trial toward their own benefit, well, they will be most pleased and they will be most intrigued, and it will perhaps give you an opportunity to learn how they mean to move. And so we can clandestinely counteract such things, feed them false information about us and about our intentions.
Very well.
You understand?
I think that would be possible. I feel that I made quite the impression with them.
Indeed. Your previous connection to the Golden Dream, to the Perticus clan, as I've said, as I continue to say, and as I believe more than ever, the presence here is the work of the God Emperor himself, and his favor will see the true party, true righteous one to come out on top of this. If we know, the more we know about what pockets they have their hands in, what avenues they have rigged, the better we will be able to overcome them, pass through these objectives. Moreover, go ahead.
And may I ask, what are our plans for the defense? I believe I've managed to talk the Admiral into being your defensive mouthpiece for the coming trial, Caellus.
Excellent, excellent. That is good to hear. She always had a very addled mind. I assume that the Perticus family very much influenced her through that and through monetary means. But that's good to hear that you swayed her your way. I think for my defense, I can see a couple of very important points. First of all, there's of course the matter of Marcus's associates bringing out those heavy and illegal weapons onto the bridge of the Vengeance. I think that would be appropriate. I think also, of course, the matter of who drew first, who provoked who first, of course, will be very important. The matter of the conversation, the argument that led up to this will surely show the Admiral what an incompetent fool Marcus is to be blaming me for his own mistakes. I think that would be also wise as well.
Serpicio kind of nods his head, and he looks at you and asks again that surely it's misrepresentation to say that this was a true mutiny. It was a fight that got out of hand. Did it really spread so far amongst the crew?
Well, we had, as I said, there were factions on both sides. We both are rather charming fellows. Of course, I like to think of myself more as one. We had many friends amongst the crew, both of us. I lost many friends that day, but yes, there would have been a couple of important places that fighting would have broken out.
Well,
but
the difference between mutiny and mere insubordination would be the difference between murder and manslaughter. It's quite an important point.
Insubordination. If this trial can be framed as a matter of honor between two traitor sons, no more, no less, gotten out of hand, perhaps, but if the conversation, if the narrative could be swayed towards that direction, I feel as though the Admiral would be most relieved and eager to either throw out the trial altogether or at the very utmost simply offer a meager punishment or meager penalty for such transgressions, being not of a mutiny or even insubordination against a superior officer, but a personal matter aboard or amongst traitor families, which is outside the jurisdiction of the Navy, only collateral damage being a concern to what actually occurred. That may be both the most easy way to shift the conversation and also the most desirable for our outcome.
I think it is also possible for me to rule it as self-defense as well, as I was, of course, defending my person when he drew and fired.
Indeed.
As well. So.
Self-defense against a personal affront, a personal attack, not a naval matter, though taking place aboard a naval scene, of course, but all penalty unto the first transgressor. But we will need witnesses, we will need evidence, because as it stands right now, the word of Perticus is as good as law here. Thankfully, we will be able to purchase the voices of some. I look to the armorsmen. No doubt we will be able to more forcibly convince others, but I have no doubt that more will be required before we are ready.
Be aware that once this leaves this room, I have not heard any of this.
Of course.
If this does come to light, I will, of course, as is necessary, blame my inferiors. Unfortunately, I do apologize for that, but my good name must be maintained.
I can see you like looking directly at Sulpicio as you say that. Like, I will blame someone else. And you're just glaring at Sulpicio. He's just like, what? Who?
A suitable individual will be found, or a group of individuals, if it comes to that. We must ensure
Sulpicio
that
is
it
not a
does.
bad scapegoat because he's got so much political clout that because he's from a navigator house
Yeah,
that he's almost untouchable.
yeah. But I sort of just like not to. We'll find someone else, Sulpicio. Maybe we won't, but we won't. We must ensure that it does not come to it. Or if it does, all our work will be undone, and there will be nothing we can do to spare you from the worst of it. That will not happen. Now, the overwhelming presence of the Perticus line surely sends a message that I would like to see lessened if possible. I'm open to suggestions. If there are any options to get at least one of the vessels off this station. We have any contacts, we have any open lines of communication, perhaps fabricate an ordeal, perhaps some threat or some situation which requires at least some of the Perticus family's attention. We know full well where they operate and what lines of business they tend to truck in. Perhaps something can be arranged, maybe close, but close all the better. For if a member of at least indeed one ship, and I suspect one ship would be as best as we will be able to muster, leaves just before, or soon before this trial is to commence, it will send an equally potent message, one that will shake perhaps the conviction some of the naval officers here in House Perticus's, well, in their position in this matter. And I look to some of the officers, like, give me a readout of what's going on. Is there what's happening? Is there anything we can use? Is there anything we can manipulate? Is there anything going on in the in the Corvicus sector or the Caellus sector that we can that's something that we can go on. Is old Lucio, is he in this region of space where we can get something out? Is there anyone we who owes us a favor in the vicinity that we can so I can roll for that if you'd like.
I can't think of any leads. I'm just going through our crew here, and I don't think any of them have any kind of leads to distract them. Because a false message would need to be an astropathic message, or it would need to be in system. And the astropathic message would be the obvious fake if you're sending it right next to the guy. It's just you can't really fake that the distance when you're so close to them. In system, I just can't think of anything. This is not one of their systems, so I can't think of anything they'd have here that they care about. Unless it was like okay, so maybe
So what I'm trying to do
maybe
is
Labrax would speak up there. So your wing commander, he would kind of nod his head and look up. When I was running with the Vulture, we used to use false distress signal, especially when we knew that somebody like this crusader, this Alcesimus, was around. We'd say it was a pilgrim ship under attack by pirates. It's a good plea to draw somebody off. Everyone wants to protect the god emperor's chosen, get on his good side. And pilgrim ships are so lightly armed, even little raiders will attack them. With a big frigate like that, a man who loves his flamethrowers as much as I've heard he does, I think he'd go running to save them. I could fly out in one of our shuttles, set off the distress beacon, and be back before you knew I was gone.
so based on my knowledge, would that be likely something that? So how is a pilgrim ship like? Is this like a massive, like a huge ass kind of ship that wouldn't respond to such a meager distress signal, or
Most ships, even like it would be a transport, and transports are usually like really big.
yeah.
But even if it were anything that's warp capable, would be big enough for somebody to respond to. There's like what's the smallest warp capable ship? Like 10,000 crew. Like it's still a really big ship.
It's massive. Okay.
And if it's a pilgrim ship, it's loaded with passengers going to a shrine world or to start a new religious colony. If they come under fire by pirates, they might have tried to get to the battle station to flee to safety. And as soon as they would arrive at the edge of the system, they'd send their distress signal out. So naturally, the Navy would respond, but what Labrax is saying is that if Alcesimus is here, he'll respond even faster than the Navy because he's highly religious, and he would almost lose face not to respond.
Right.
So that's what Labrax is suggesting.
So okay.
And you are saying, Mr. Silas, that you would be able to do this without it being traced back to us?
There's so much in-system traffic here with the battle station. Even if they found my ion trail, they'd never trace it back here. I'll be real careful.
I kind of give him a smile. Very good, Mr. Silas. I think this is a good plan. At the very least, it'll put them off balance.
At the very least, it'll give me some flight time. I've been sitting here doing nothing.
Yes, it's always been my regret that we don't have a flight deck upon the Ferrum Tempestus, but a true flight deck worthy of such a name. But
you should have seen the one on the Vulture. Oh, it's beautiful. Have you ever been in a bat cave and you see all the bats clinging to the ceiling? Oh, every one of them a starfighter.
Such wondrous fruits come to those with cunning and drive. We have both, and we will put this to the test. A good plan. See that it's done. I'm not. All right. So if he leaves right now, would it be the timing to be? Well, so he'll do it.
Yeah, it'd probably take him at least a day to fly out and set it off.
Okay, great. And a day to come back. So.
Well, coming back doesn't matter. You guys can you'll have time to kill after the trial unless something horrible happens.
Right.
So it doesn't matter when he comes back. It matters when he triggers it. Because a shuttle will be so small, like they'll never find him
Yeah, it's good.
unless he's an idiot. But he's your wing commander. He's the master of small craft on board. So he's the most competent small craft pilot you have. He previously served on the pirate ship Vulture, as he mentioned. So if he fucks it up, he deserves to get killed.
So, may I ask, what is our plan in case something goes wrong, in case the worst should happen, and Caellus is found guilty? I kind of look at Syntac, actually.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to figure out before.
Well,
I do believe we talked about posting some men in the hall.
Well, I saw David talking. I didn't hear anything he said, though. Oh, you're muted. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking to my roommate, guys. Just letting you talk in character. If you do need me, just yell at me.
Was it you, Micah, that asked that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Your Excellency, I've looked into all that I could strategically. If the worst should happen and that Lord Caellus should be pronounced guilty, there is little that I can do and that our fighting forces can do to break us out of this battle station Hydra. Not only do we need to break him out of the courtroom, which would be the weakest point of security, but we would have to battle our way from the courtroom all the way to the Iron Storm, and from there try to outrun whatever retaliation would be brought upon us. Our odds strategically are not good, Your
May I
Excellency.
make a suggestion, Armsman?
Absolutely.
The Admiral will be at this trial. Is that correct? I kind of look at the others as well to confirm this. You say that the trial itself will be lightly guarded. The Admiral, from my understanding, has consolidated a massive amount of power to herself. If she were to, say, be struck by a stray las round during the chaos, well, the Navy may be in quite a bit of disarray, given the chance we need to escape and evade them in the future.
You're saying gun down the Admiral in the courtroom.
a
And
bold move.
How would that disarray them so much? Because we still have the Perdiccas family, and we still have the remaining naval vessels. Not to mention that many would love to see the Admiral gunned down.
But don't you think there'll be much infighting? Like you said, there are many eyeing her position.
If you command it, I'll gun down who you say. If it's the Admiral, if it's the Captain, if it's Caellus himself, just say it.
I do hate to admit this, but I think it might be best to consider not doing anything at all if the worst should happen. I do not expect that to happen. We have a lot on our side, and we have done very well. But I think that if the worst should happen, the best outcome would be, from what you have said, Mr. Sorrel, is that the situation is tactically impossible. I think it would be best if you, unfortunately, if you return the ship to my father, and there's no need to cause a huge amount of damage, especially for nothing. If it will get you all killed and the ship destroyed, I think it is unwise to the future of my dynasty, especially if it is near a possibility to get me out safely.
My tactical estimation of this situation is that we would face overwhelming odds.
I agree.
And not only that, but should we, and the other side of that is, should we leave you behind? Should we leave you to your fate, Lord Caellus?
If that is what is necessary. The ship,
will have to-
again, is... The ship is an ancient one, and one that is vital to my dynasty. If it is impossible for me to escape, which it sounds like in the event the trial goes completely against me, that it would be impossible to rescue me, then I would say to leave me behind and bring
we
the
will
ship
make
to my
sure
father.
that this does not happen.
Of course, of
Focus
course.
all of our efforts upon stacking the odds in our favor.
And if that fails, that is
It will
your
not
plan
fail.
A.
The plan is to make it not fail. If any option of force is beyond our ability, then we must put everything into ensuring that that option does not become a reality. That does not, however, mean that you and your forces will have to sit idly by, Armsman. There are other ways that force can be applied. Other ways, indeed, moreover than persuasion, shall we say.
And I think you underestimate the influence that my dynasty does have. I am, of course, part of a rogue trader dynasty, one perhaps even more influential than your average noble family. I think the likelihood of them wanting me to be executed is very, very low indeed. The records, of course, will show that all true mutineers are dispatched and killed, but that's somewhat misleading, as many of the more influential ones, of course, will escape true conviction, again, shall we say.
I see, my Lord Caellus, but again I say that I must, as your security aboard this ship in this dynasty at this moment in time, say that what may happen, I have to assume the worst case scenario, and that is my job, and I need to always have a contingency plan. Everything
well.
else withstanding. Do you understand? That's all I'm saying.
Very well. In the case of possible assassination, you of course know what to do. However, in the possibility that I am taken to be executed, I am ordering you, Sergeant, to abandon me and to bring the vessel back to the hands of my father, to do with as he sees fit for the good of my dynasty. Do you understand?
Knowing your father, he sees fit that you survive, my Lord Caellus.
Yes, I understand that. However, again, you have told me that the situation is most impossible if there is, if it does go completely against me. So therefore, my orders do stand on this issue.
I have 200 fighting men aboard the Iron Storm, and we could perhaps make this happen and break you out of this.
I think you are forgetting that not only, it's like, yes, we do have 200 fighting men and a heavy frigate on our side. However, there is, as you remember, a cruiser docked here of the Lunar class. There are 2 large vessels belonging to the Perticus dynasty. There is a large contingent of Marines and soldiers aboard Battle Station Hydra. I
see
do
your
not
point.
see it going well for us.
No, I see your point, my lord.
Forgive me.
If
It's my loyalty speaking through me. I don't wish to leave any of the dynasty behind, if you understand.
I understand. Know that there is no guilt upon you if such a thing happens. This is simply an order directly from me for you to abandon me if this situation does
Indeed.
arrive.
Let
But
us
it will
use
not, of
your
course.
talents and those 200 men in a way. Let us devise a way to utilize that power, that talent, in a productive and preventative fashion. Perhaps there is some way that you can devise, Armsman, use those skills in order to further persuade the departure of some of the Perticus, at least one of the Perticus ships. I believe, as has been stated, we will likely already have, if all goes well, we'll not have to concern ourselves with Alcesimus or his crusading pilgrim vessel. Perhaps there might be some way to add some pressure or some clandestine unpleasantness to the Golden Dream. Not such an overt display, of course. That would be just as foolish as to directly assault this battle station, but you are a man of cunning, Armsman. Perhaps let us put our minds towards that matter. I thought it unlikely, but I would be delighted to be proven wrong and to find some means of getting the entirety of Perticus's stench off of this battle station. To do that, well, that would be quite welcome for all of us, indeed.
Well, all well and good, and I agree that the most forceful option, the most overt option, is probably the worst option. The option that would lose the most face for the Loretti dynasty at this point. But however, if the worst case scenario were to happen, we need to make sure, we need to ensure that Caellus lives.
The matter of the worst case scenario has been set aside. We were all given orders by Caellus, and that matter is closed. We must ensure that such a situation does not occur.
And is that what will happen? Per your influence?
For all our influence, we will make sure it does not happen. Caius will not meet execution and will not find his death aboard this space station.
So you asked me to delay the Perticus fleet, the Perticus ships, if I can.
Well, let us think on that matter. Purser,
Okay.
Yes.
you have looked at many of the comings and goings of personnel and of the quartermaster's list of product. Are there any supplies? Surely a ship the size of the Golden Dream will be and will continue to be making some degree of resupply, refueling, and other such exchange of goods while docked here. Do you have any records, or can you, with your own skills, find such activity? Perhaps we can utilize that to our advantage.
I would like to cut in, just briefly. Aboard each ship, there's probably a weakness. A munitorium, maybe, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Somewhere where they store their ammunition, their big rounds, their big bombs. If we're really going that option to disable these ships, We need to get something into the most weak point of all these ships. And I would relay that to you, Lysandros. Which would be, we need to do that and do the most damage possible, and to cripple their speed, to leave them at birth. That's what we need to do as we get away. If that makes sense.
Indeed it does. This is an Imperial battle station, and Perticus does have many contacts within that organization. It would not be amiss for resupply of munitions to occur at a place such as this. Can we determine if such exchange is occurring?
I cannot.
I'm talking to the purser. To you and to the purser.
Can check the record of your trades, but we rarely deal with Asperticus directly. Tend to avoid
You
that all
have
but,
been able to get into places where you don't belong, Purser. You are good at your job, and you are good at avenues that not everyone always sees. And unless, I'm sorry, was I made known? I thought I was, that you kind of secretly got into the witness program.
No, you just found the list. You don't know.
Oh, okay, then never mind. Then I would not. Then I would ask.
I can check like the fleet commerce boards or equivalent of the stock exchange to see what supplies are being traded by Perticus in nearby sectors, and then try to use our own sales algorithms to figure out like what they're likely resupplying. How's that?
Is there a simpler solution? Is there a log of the battle station's trade, their imports and exports? Is there any?
Would I just not know, as my background, who I am, David?
Mm-hmm.
Would I just not know upon these ships what is and what's not?
No, you'd have a pretty good idea of like the layout of most Imperial ships for certain. All those records they're talking about would be certainly private. You need to hack into them, you need to bribe your way in. Not something that we're aware that our purser knows how to do.
Right.
As far as weak points, yes, the munitorium, which is basically the powder room, very vulnerable. And yet also heavily guarded for that reason. Also, the warp core itself is very vulnerable, less heavily guarded typically, but if a warp core is breached, it could suck in everything into hyperspace within a very large radius. It doesn't always happen, but it could happen, and it could suck the entire station in. And if you go into hyperspace when you're not ready, you're done.
So, warp core does not sound like an option to me.
It's an option, but you need to make sure you're well away if it ever blows, or just count on the luck of the God Emperor.
What we do not require, or even necessarily desire, the ship's destruction. Indeed, this is a contingency option. Simply an option that may be put into practice. We simply need to send a message, and if we can make sure that Darius and the rest of his clan are not present on board the station or at the trial, and that is all that we desire here.
I think that is a very unlikely thing to expect to happen, unless someone has a miraculous idea. I think with his son being so closely associated with this trial, his Marcus, who is clearly the one who is of greater guilt, I think that it is unlikely that for any reason, but the most dire reason, would Darius abandon this trial. I think at the moment we may be overthinking this, that we may be making this a bit more complicated and convoluted than necessary. It's, as my father used to say, sometimes the most complex plans are the ones most likely to go wrong. if you have a lot of small parts going in a large plan, it's very likely that something will go wrong and trip up the entire plan. I think it is best if we keep it relatively simple. I think the plan that we have as of right now is a good one that I think we should stick with. Adding too many more parts is going to make things more dangerous, in my
True.
opinion.
Then, excuse me, what is the most simple plan at this point?
Well, the plan, as I said, is that we have our defense, I think, arranged. How we want to go about the trial, and of course we have our witnesses being dealt with, and will be dealt with shortly. And that should make it a much more fair trial, I should think. And I think that is the distraction, of course, will bring the distraction of the distress beacon will, of course, tip the balance a little bit more in our favor, as well as it'll put the Perdiccas dynasty a bit off foot before the trial even begins. So I think that plan that we have so far is a good one, a simple one, and one that I think we can pursue.
As ever, it does fall largely upon the shoulders of you, Your Excellency. Golden words of the Emperor's mouthpiece must sway the hearts, the minds, or at least that of the Admiral.
Salute.
Believe there might be one further thing that perhaps might sway things in our favor. I'm not convinced that Perdiccas' tendrils have so fully woven themselves about the Dragon Slayer's heart. It is merely, I believe, a lack of confidence on her part in a battlefield she does not fully understand. But if she was made to remember, to bring to bear what she truly is, well, this could go quite well indeed. Perhaps I can help her to remember.
Can I
I'm
ask?
good at that.
Can I ask? Brado's footage, his altered footage. What is the timeline for that? I know I didn't get it, but
Oh, it's probably not going to come up till we're actually in the trial.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I would imagine it doesn't come up till we're actually in the trial. Although now that we're the defense team, we would have gotten it, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I would think that Brado would have it prepared, then swap it at the last possible moment, so that they don't even know what they're calling up on the screen until it's on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That way they'll be the most off balance.
Good.
Unless,
Good.
and you could do it another way. That's just what I think Brado would do.
Wait till the end, right?
Yeah, I just needed clarification. I'm good.
This will make it look quite clearly like Perdiccas is manipulating the footage to show quite blatantly, quite sloppily, and quite dishonestly that he is innocent in this circumstance, at least as it pertains to the use of explosives, which is, of course, frowned upon.
So, is that it? Are we ready for the trial then?
Well, once, I believe a day and a half will be appropriate for you to gather yourself the words you will use, and indeed for our dear officer to see his task fulfilled, this would be most appropriate a time for you to compose what you will be discussing. No doubt that we will be able to communicate with one another. I suspect there will be some way that we can overcome such distances in terms of communication. Surely there will be a method for us to ensure that we are heard.
Are you suggesting in the courtroom itself? That seems certainly a bold plan. But if I'm called to, witness things, or I'm standing straight there in the courtroom, that seems like a difficult thing to achieve without someone noticing.
Do we have such means to ensure that those still aboard the ship or not involved in the trial could communicate with His Excellency without being detected? No doubt they would search for microbeads, but
there probably wouldn't be any problem with our confessor having his ear bead in. I mean, there's nothing against him being able to get input or communicate.
Well, good. Then at least we will not be entirely idle, or not necessarily idle.
He wouldn't look very good if he kept sort of listening or talking into it. That would make him look really weak.
But I'm sort of like, it's like you're on a game show and you're being radioed in the answers from a fight kind of deal, like getting further legal counsel. But if it's going to be as overt as
there's nothing wrong with that. It's not against the law and against the rules, but it will make you look weak if you're constantly asking someone else for advice. You want to come in looking like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we don't want to have the confessor talk back to us, but I was just suggesting maybe it would be, all hands on deck. But if it's going to look, I mean, if he can have a microbead in, I don't see why.
Yeah, he can, certainly.
But it seems like that should be used sparingly, if at all. Unless it's like, I've cracked the case, from back in the ship. I know exactly what happened, and I have proof.
Sure.
Then by all means do it. But okay.
All right. So does that conclude the pre-trial briefing? Is that correct?
Yep.
I think so. However, afterwards, and we don't have to have a, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to send. I want to send a letter or an email. I don't know what, a message to the admiral. Which we don't have to. I can tell you, 'cause I don't think we're going to do the actual trial this evening.
No, I was thinking that'll probably be a good place to wrap up.
Yeah. So I'll send you something. I'm going to send a message, and we don't necessarily have to do it. I don't know how much time we have, but I would like to talk to Janice.
Okay.
I'm not convinced she can't be swayed.
Sure.
To our side, or to at least give us some information.
Okay. Well, I think we'll probably wrap that session up right here, though. If we want to go around and once again identify ourselves to the one viewer. We have one viewer online. And
yes.
We can,
woo, it's your brother.
So it's probably my brother who didn't show up for the game. So if you want to, again, just say who you are, what your channel is, plug anything that you're shilling. If you want to say where you're from, that's good too. So we'll go around and then sign out.
All right, I'm Micah. I'm playing Quinilla Casimir, the ship's confessor. Thank you very much for watching, everyone.
I have been and still am, I think, Nick Wadati. Again, if you're curious, check out my channel, Ferric Zorn, on YouTube. And for those interested, there will soon be a Dark Ages Vampire Chronicle in the works. So if you're curious, keep your eyes out for that.
Yes, we could even do a pitch for that if you want to do like just a private video. Not that my viewership will probably help you tremendously, but I always love to hear other jams pitches as well. So
Sure,
I'll
bring that up next time or on a
shoot me a PM.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Russ, and the one viewer is my girlfriend.
Making sure that you're being honest, that this is what you're really doing.
Wait, what? No,
I know what goes on in video chats.
Am I muted?
No, you are not.
Oh, I can
Okay, great. No, seriously, the one viewer is my girlfriend, and I play, Syntech, the sergeant, the guy who's silent most of the time and wants to cut everybody in the face with his monosword, monoblade, whatever it is. And, yeah, that's me. I wish I had a channel, and I will, eventually. Thank you, David, for an awesome campaign so far.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
My name is Jessica, and I'm a cam girl from southern Orange County.
That's right, son.
Pics or it didn't happen, bro.
My name is Mike Myler. I'm from Pittsburgh. I design games. You can find free stuff at mikemyler.com, Ranthia.com, Hypercore.com, and Mitsubukuma.com.
And I'm Andrew, and I have a channel, Andrew Van Roy, but we don't care about that. Let's get out of here.
All right, so yes, thank our viewers. Thanks to our wonderful players. And it should be this time again next week that we have session 3 where we might finally have the trial of Caellus.
All right.
Hey, have you guys realized that Caellus is like a